Whitesnake, the stand of Enrico Pucci, the main antagonist of Stone Ocean. For such an important and recognised stand, Whitesnake holds little substance in YBA. Despite having an incredible ability to steal souls and memory and store them as discs, Whitesnake serves little purpose in YBA other than to be evolved into Sea Moon and Made in Heaven. It has barely any combos, no mobility, and its damage output is pitiful. Pairing it with Pluck also solves some of these issues, however at that point you're going to be using Pluck more than Whitesnake. Let's get straight to the point. In this video I will present my ideas for a rework concept to make Whitesnake the threat he deserves to be. So I'm not sure whether developers have ever changed skill tree shapes just when doing a rework, but regardless I designed this one just for the fun of it. I will go over each move individually, but to start with, the shape of the tree is acid dripping down a wall as we commonly see in part 6. To the right side we have changed disc abilities as well as the standard pilot abilities. I've also attached the gun skill directly to Whitesnake as I don't think you'd need to unlock anything else in order for Whitesnake to hold a gun. To the left side we have the all new abilities and upgrades which I will go over soon. The total point cost for maxing Whitesnake in my rework is 52 points, however I doubt with the right build you'd need to spend nearly as much. The increased point cost is to reflect the new threat that I want Whitesnake to pose. Before I jump into the new moves and upgrades, I'd like to quickly highlight that in my rework concept, I want Whitesnake to have overall higher damage. We see in Stone Ocean that Whitesnake is able to go toe to toe with Stone 3, however not necessarily overpower it. As such, I would suggest a new destructive power that allows Whitesnake to reach a fast barrage of 1.2 per hit. If that is still too weak, then 1.3, but no higher than that. Now, I'd like to talk about my ideas for the new moves. The first new move which I have designed a concept for is nicknamed Acid Surf. This will be a brand new mobility option for Whitesnake and it is particularly inspired by Whitesnake's ability to be sunk inside his acid, as shown in the panel on screen from part 6. The general idea of this move is that it would be similar to Zipper Glide or Nail Glide, however with a more stealthy element. We often see in part 6 that Whitesnake uses stealth to get close to the Joestar group, and I'd like to reflect that in this rework. We only see Whitesnake do this in his pilot mode, though for the sake of implementation we will assume the user of Whitesnake may also sink inside the acid. This move would involve the user being able to transform into the puddle of acid on the ground and move around with it, similar to an Inkling from Splatoon. If possible to program, you could even use this move to traverse walls, which I think could be really cool, however I imagine that this might be buggy once implemented. The main benefit of this is, as a flat puddle on the ground, you are much harder to see, detect and predict. There is also an optional upgrade named Poisoning, which makes it so that enemies that touch Whitesnake during his acid surf are poisoned for a little bit of chip damage. This solves a common issue with Whitesnake of its poor mobility, and should hopefully make for some interesting stealth gameplay, such as surfing underneath grass in 1v1s or SBR. Melt Your Heart is the canonical name given to what is currently known as Whitesnake's acid spit. The acid is meant to cause illusions and sometimes induce a dream-like state, which YBA currently tries to achieve by making you trip hard when hit by acid spit. What I instead propose is to give Melt Your Heart a slightly longer range, however at the cost of an increased cooldown to balance it. The main change, however, is that it creates an effect similar in nature to Anubis' afterimage, creating several illusions of your player character that only affected individuals can see. You would also gain very temporary invisibility to allow the illusions to take effect, like afterimage, however this would not grant invincibility. Furthermore, this move would proc poison for extra damage onto your opponent. You could also add a much less extreme version of the current tripping or blinding illusion effect if needed, however this isn't necessary. So from this, the general gist is to sneak up on your opponent and land Melt Your Heart, or, alternatively, land Melt Your Heart and then use Acid Surf to sneak around while your illusions take their attention. This is where our combos may now begin that you are close to your opponent. Spirit Disc is going to remain the same, taking a stand for 10 seconds, however I would ask for a fix of the disc's hitboxes as they are rather janky and don't hit as often as they should. Now, this next one might be a little controversial, but Memory Disc will no longer remove the enemy's spec. I don't think it's fun for the enemy to be totally useless, however I think that this next change may improve the Memory Disc's usage. I propose that it instead takes away a random movement option, for example one between dashing, blocking or sprinting. This could obviously be tweaked depending on what is seen as overpowered, but I believe it would help to solve the issue of disking your opponent only for them to run a marathon until their stand comes back. This also allows memory disks to have a use, even if you have not removed their stand, as just removing a disk for 10 seconds isn't amazingly powerful by itself. And that comes to the end of my ideas for move additions and changes. If I were to add another move, I would likely add some form of new melee move to weave between M1s, although I'm not quite sure what this would be. Perhaps a light form of chop without bleeding, which can reflect Whitesnake's All-Star Battle and Eyes of Heaven attacks. But otherwise, that's it. My ideas for a Whitesnake change. I appreciate I used the word rework, however I thought that a major change to the disc and completely revamping the acid alongside a new move was enough to justify it. The only things that have not changed are the gun and pilot abilities. Thank you though for watching. If you enjoyed this and would like to see more rework concepts, do comment down below what you'd like to see. I'd also like to shout out my good friend Subs for helping me devise this concept. Thank you all for watching and see you next time.